Hi guys, welcome back to Monday Movie Recommendations, and today I'm going to be talking about some older movies, which if you have not seen them, I would definitely recommend putting them on your watch list. They're all worth checking out for sure. You might have seen some of them and others maybe not. I'm not quite sure, but you can let me know and let me know what your opinion on them is as well. Plus, we'll see if you can guess what year the movie came out. Okay, so the first movie is Midnight Cowboy, and this is starring Dustin Hoffman, who is an incredible actor for sure, and Jon Voight, who, if you didn't know, Jon Voight is actually Angelina Jolie's father, which is a very interesting fact for sure. I didn't quite know that the first time that I had seen the movie. It's a really good movie, and the main character travels from Texas to New York City with the thoughts of kind of becoming a hustler, and he definitely thinks that he's God's gift to women, although he's in for a pretty big surprise once he actually gets there and tries to kind of get started. So without giving too much away, the movie is pretty much about that and just the hardships and things that he goes through with that whole experience. The movie is set in New York City, and it's an older movie, like I said, and I like that the setting of New York City, it's like old and kind of run down and dirty, which is a lot different than New York City today, which is more, developed and high rises and, kind of cleaned up for sure. So that was a very interesting part about the movie and something that made it even more interesting for me. So, Midnight Cowboy, what year did this movie come out? If you guessed 1969, you would be correct. So to me, it was just definitely a very interesting movie for that time period, kind of before its time, with the concept and the storyline and whatnot. So that's what made it very enjoyable. Okay, the next movie is Taxi Driver. Have you seen it? Maybe, maybe not. This movie is about a Vietnam War vet who works as a cab driver, an overnight cab driver in New York City. And he's already kind of mentally unstable, but then everything that he sees working, overnight as a cab driver is even more disturbing to him and sort of leads to him acting out on some violence that he sort of has pent up inside. This movie stars Robert De Niro, who actually worked as a cab driver in New York City to prepare for this role. He was born August 17th, 1943, and he actually dropped out of high school at the age of 16 to pursue an acting career. He has played in a lot of really good movies and has actually starred in about 83 movies overall. Some of those movies are also in my favorites list for sure. And Jodie Foster is actually also in this movie at a very young age. The director of the movie is Martin Scorsese, who has actually directed somewhere in the neighborhood of 68 movies and has also narrated a couple of films as well. So what year did this movie come out? Well, if you guessed 1976, that is the correct answer. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely check that one out. And the next movie is The Warriors. What a great movie. This is definitely on my top list for sure. The Warriors is a fictional piece about a New York gang leader who attempts to rally all the street gangs of New York to come together and work together and sort of take over the city. And without going into too much, the Warriors, the main characters, find themselves in a bad situation and end up having to try to make it all the way back to their own turf in Coney Island. I'm actually very surprised that nobody has attempted to do a remake of this movie. It would definitely be a tough one to do to top the original. I don't think that would necessarily be possible. But I hate when they do remake certain movies pretty much just to, sell tickets to the movie theater, I guess, and they end up just being kind of corny and definitely nowhere as good. Like Point Break. I've seen the original and I've not seen the new one, and I probably will never see it. So anyway, what year did this movie come out? The answer is 1979. If that was your guess, you are correct. Okay, this next movie is really good too. It's called Mad Max, and it is starring Mel Gibson. And if I'm correct, Mad Max wasn't his first movie, but it was actually his second movie in his career. And he has been in something like 42 movies. I'm not saying he's a great actor. The other movie that I really liked him in was Braveheart, and that was just a good movie in general. I can't really say I'm a fan of any of the other ones I've really seen him play in. Such an incredible concept for a movie and very well put, especially for the time period. If you have not seen it, you should highly, highly, highly put it on your watch list. There's also a few sequels to it as well, which are also worth checking out. But Mad Max is definitely the first installment of that series and a great movie to watch. What year did this movie come out? Well, if you guessed 1979, you are correct. Okay, the next movie is Escape from Alcatraz. Starring Clint Eastwood, the title says it all. It's about three men trying to escape from the famous Alcatraz, which in its time was the most, well, considered the most secure prison. It's one of those movies that I feel like everybody has seen, but if you haven't, then you should most definitely check it out. Time to guess what year this movie came out. It came out in 1979. Again, 1979. So if you guessed 1979, you are correct. So that wraps up 5 movie recommendations that, if you've seen them, might bring back some memories for you. I know they definitely do for me because I watched them all at a young age, considering they're older movies. Before I go, here are 4 more movies, and let's see if you can give a guess to what year they came out. They all came out in the same year, so the movies are Soylent Green, American Graffiti, Planet of the Apes, and The Exorcist. Think on that for a second. And the answer is all those movies came out in 1973. A lot of them were definitely before their time, especially Soylent Green, which I'll probably get into that one into a different movie recommendation on a Monday. So go ahead and leave me a comment. Let me know if you've seen any of these movies and what you thought about them. And I would love to hear what some of your favorite movies from around this time period are as well. I did come up with this little kind of skit commercial that I thought was kind of a cute idea, and so here it is now.